Need to develop a national plan for prevention and control of cervical cancer. The House should note that cervical cancer, though a preventable disease, is one of the leading killers of women all over the world, accounting for up to 275,000 deaths every year. Also note that the recent statistics indicate that no fewer than one Nigerian woman dies every hour, with an average of 26 deaths every day and 8,000 deaths annually, making Nigeria to be ranked 5th with the worst indices of cervical cancer deaths in the world. Observe that cervical cancer is a disease that can inhabit in a woman for up to 20 years without any clear manifestation or symptoms, and WHO has projected a 25% increase over the next decade in absence of widespread interventions. Aware that developed countries such as Australia, Britain, United States of America, the widespread use of cervical cancer screening programs has dramatically reduced the rate of cervical cancer, and regulate screening and HPV vaccines could prevent up to 99.5% of cervical cancer occurrence. Concerned that less than 0.1 Nigerian women have ever had cervical cancer screening in their lifetime, less than 1% is aware of the existence of this silent killer. House should resolve to urge the federal government to develop a national plan for prevention and control of the cervical cancer, including raising a public awareness through National Orientation Agency on the need for screening of women for cervical cancer disease, and also mandate the House Care Committee on House Care Service to ensure compliance and report back to the House within 4 weeks of further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, I so move. Thank you.
Honourable Pondi.
My name is Hon Akinade Fijabi. I represent Ibadan Southwest Northwest. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, as a father, a husband, and a son, I think it's very, very important that this disease is the second killer of women in all over the world after breast cancer. And I think we need to, I think federal government needs to take cognizance of this. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, cervical cancer, as stated clearly, in a year kills, is a silent killer, and most women doesn't understand or doesn't know that they have this disease on them until they go for screening. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, all over the world, or most of the developed countries of the world, like the developed world, screening of cervical cancer is free, which, Mr. Speaker, it should apply to our nation as well. So far, you started having sex, Mr. Speaker, you have tendency of contacting this disease, Mr. Speaker, or else, if you are not open to sex, you are not open to have cervical cancer. But the moment you started having sex, there is a tendency of you having cervical cancer. And as I've said, as noted, it's a silent killer of women. And as a father, a husband, and a son, Mr. Speaker, I will employ federal government to please draw up a national plan where every woman can go and have free screening and understand the status when it comes to cervical cancer. Mr. Speaker, just last week, the wife of Oyo State Governor, Florence Ajimobi, come up with a program where every woman all over Nigeria, or even Oyo State or Ibadan, can come forward and have free screening to know its status about cervical cancer. Mr. Speaker, I employ my colleagues, most especially the women the women amongst us, to support this motion and see how we can draw up a national policy in effect of controlling this disease. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Adegu.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable colleagues, my name is Albert Abiodun Adeogun, representing Ife Central, Ife East, South and North of Ife Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the source, Osun State. Mr. Speaker, honourable colleagues, let me commend the efforts of Honourables Saheed Akinade Fijabi for bringing this motion. For people who have having to lose their loved ones over the variety of cancer, we see that bringing this motion for discussion in this hallowed chamber is very, very important. This is one of the cancer that is carried by women, and not only women, men too carry it. Because the motion deals with the issue of prevention, I want to urge the House to support this motion and ensure that early screening of girls between 12 and 13 are done while they're in school. There is a vaccine which they call Gardasil. It is used all over the world. More than 100 countries have adopted this vaccine. Girls between 12 and 13 years of age are immunized while they're in school. These injections are given to them within a stretch of 6 months. And this insulates them from cervical cancer, at least for 8 years. In other claims also, it is free, like the move of this motion has said. I want to urge the government to introduce the free screening of females in the hospital to determine those who are likely to have inclination or links with this cancer. Screening, for instance, will expose those who are likely to be carrier of this virus. This virus is called HPV, which is a human papilloma virus, which is found in the cervix. And by screening, it can be detected before the cancer comes up to know whether such a person is vulnerable to this pre-cancer situation. I therefore want to once again urge my honorable colleagues to allow this motion and support it so that the government will take cervical cancer as a very, very important ailment, which is not only for women, it's also for men. Even in other climes, people between 19 and 26 are also immunized against this cancer. Honorable colleagues, I want to urge you to support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.